Welcome back. We're discussing the issue of dementia tonight. We're joined by Buttrose, the President of Alzheimer's Australia, Professor Henry Brodaty, the Professor of Ageing and Mental Health, the University of New South Wales, Ron Sinclair, the Chair of the Consumer Dementia Research Network, and Stephen Judd is the Chief of the aged care provider HammondCare. Now, we've talked a lot of doom and gloom, I suppose, so far tonight, but we were just discussing during the break, it's not all bad. Once you're diagnosed with dementia, Ida, it's not the end of the world. No,
it's not the end of the world. I mean, my father had a pretty good life, and he was pretty happy. Most of the time, he was pretty happy because he was in his own home, and he'd sometimes have a scotch, and he'd sometimes go to sleep on the veranda, or he'd rake up the leaves in the garden, and he was quite happy pottering around. And I've met many people with Alzheimer's since becoming president, and if you go to a consumer forum, most of them are very cheerful. Women, they will say to me, "I've got Alzheimer's," but they are busy being engaged in activities and things that are happening.
And that was the experience of my mother, who lived with us for the last 10 years of her life. I mean, if I had to say which was her happiest 10 years, her most content 10 years, I'd say that last 10 years. And probably the relationship between her and her husband were probably the best then, in at least my memory. So it's sometimes more challenging for the carer, but there can actually be contentment there as well. Now, I don't want to overstep that, because for the experience of some people with dementia is the complete opposite. Yep. So I don't want people to sort of say, well, that's how I believe it is for everyone, because it's not. No,
there's no one size fits all.
Yeah. Henry, tell us about the research. Obviously it'd be great to have a cure, but is it going to happen?
I hope so, David. I hope so. There are a lot of very good leads. We know more and more what's going wrong in the brain. People with Alzheimer's disease I'm talking about. We know what's wrong with the chemistry. We know the build-up of an abnormal protein that causes a lot of the damage. We know ways that we can stop that build-up in the test tube and in animals. And there are about 300 trials currently recruiting people around the world to do drug trials for Alzheimer's disease. I've been saying for 20 years we're going to have a cure in 5 years. And maybe we will, but maybe it'll take a bit longer. But it's certainly looking tantalising.
It's looking tantalising. What's it going to take? Is it more money for research going to make a difference?
Money is crucial. Ida's got the fingers. She's got the fingers at her fingertips.
In the last financial year, it was $24 million was given by the NH and MRC to research into dementia.
And how does that compare?
Well, with cancer, it was $159 million. With cardiovascular disease, it was $92 million, and with diabetes, it's something like 70 million.
And, sorry, dementia was 24 million.
24 million.
But there's
why
do you
two
think that is?
There's two challenges there. Well, first of all, it's only this year that dementia has been seen as a national health priority area, which takes it out of the ageing, specifically the ageing area where it was, and becomes a health area. So there's that. And also, not enough people apply for grants. You know, we need more researchers to apply for grants, to look at the brain as the last medical frontier, the big challenge that we've got to make.
Is it because there's a perception that this is something that happens inevitably to older people?
I think there is a bit of ageism there. I don't think there's any doubt of that. No, it's not. But I mean, I think that the sheer weight of what we need to do and the consequences if we don't do things means that we actually have to focus on it. But I mean, if I was to say, okay, how do I see sort of the approach to dementia in the next 20 or 30 years? I mean, we've mentioned prevention, and we can make a big difference. And if the fact that you're overweight isn't motivating you because you think, oh, well, I can still sort of wall around the park, maybe the idea that it's actually going to reduce, by getting fitter, is actually going to sort of help your brain as well, might motivate you. So the prevention issues that we've mentioned are very important. Actually ensuring that we reduce premature admission to residential aged care and support people in their own homes, and have new models of care that aren't just at home or just in residential care.
So is care a higher priority than a cure?
Well, it's
not one or other.
It's not binary.
Cure and care.
Yeah,
that's what they say.
It's not binary, but What did Paul Keating say in The Race of Life? Always back self-interest, at least you know it's trying. I mean, for me, if there was a cure found tomorrow, that probably wouldn't be terribly helpful to me, but there are things I can do to, if I have, Henry, I'm, at my age, I may be developing dementia now, but there are things that I can be doing to delay it, like those lifestyle things.
And like lowering your cholesterol. You just have to keep saying it, getting your blood pressure in order. There appears to be a link between diabetes and dementia. And diabetes is very prevalent in Australia. Type 2.
And if you can delay it by...
If you delay it by 5 years, we all know these figures.
Tell us.
50%.
So, sorry, you delay the onset of...
You cut the prevalence, numbers of people with dementia by 50%, because it's a disease of late life.
It's huge.
If you could delay it till after we died, none of this would happen.
That's right.
That's exactly what we want to do.
Yeah. Right.
So, really, you have to take responsibility for your brain from the day you're born till the day you die.
Yep.
We're living longer. We're not dying of heart disease as much. The rates from cancer have been pretty steady. Rates of stroke have been slightly dropping. But rates from neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, vascular dementia, Parkinson's disease, they're rising. As we're living longer, our brains are the ones that are wearing out.
I was just going to say there's some prevalence figures, I think it's from Sweden, where the prevalence of people being diagnosed has dropped by 25%
This is from people what was over 85.
Yes, who were predicted because of the anti-smoking campaign there.
Is that right?
Wow.
That's right.
So all these plain packaged cigarettes and all these efforts might help in this regard as well.
Might indeed.
Now, the figure you mentioned earlier about the research funding at the moment, what are you asking from the government?
Well, we've been running, Alzheimer's Australia has been running a Fight Dementia campaign, and with the stage 2 is where we're at now. And in that stage 2, we're asking in the next federal budget for $200 million over 5 years for dementia research. We don't think that's a lot of money on an annual basis, given the prevalence of the disease and the cost of the disease to Australia.
What is the cost? I mean, is that difficult to estimate what it is?
Access Economics has done the modelling. It's well over $6 billion a year. It's just under 1% of gross domestic product, and that's going to double.
$6 billion a year?
More.
Now.
Yeah.
And if you halve that, you are talking, if you did this delay by 5 years and halve the prevalence,
I think it's the third largest healthcare cost, isn't it?
It is.
It's the third largest.
So if you look at any metric, the number of people affected, the causes of death, something called disease disability or life, quality of life burden. By any of those metrics, dementia's right up there. For people over 65, it is the leading one of all of those.
And in about 2030, it'll be the leading cause. It'll be the highest cost disease.
So with 11% of sort of health and aged care spending by that middle of the century. So there's a big incentive for us as a community to actually do something about it. And it's a big incentive for us personally to do something about it as well.
Well, I follow Your Brain Matters religiously. I can tell you that right now. Whatever it says you do, I do it.
And we're short of research capacity. We need to encourage young researchers to come into the field. That's why we need that sort of money, because people won't come into the young researchers will go elsewhere looking for where the money is.
How do you do that? How do
you give them something as an incentive? If there's scholarships available for them, doing a PhD or postdoctoral fellowships or research grants, the researchers will follow the money. They'll follow what they're interested in, but if there are several things, if you've got more opportunity in one area than the other area, self-interest.
Yeah, it is.
And what about these workforce issues? Stephen, what do you think about that? How do you encourage more people to work in the sector?
Make them really nice places to work. I mean, it's not rocket science. If people believe in what you're doing, and if they believe that they're actually belonging to something that's worth doing and that they're achieving, they'll stay.
I'm not sure that we won't see, one hopes. The thing I've noticed since I've been the president is that there is a greater awareness now in the community of dementia. Almost wherever you go, if you talk about it, someone will come up and tell you their mother has it, their grandmother has it, their auntie has it, their best friend's mother has it. There is a definite raising of awareness of this disease now in Australia. And I think that could lead to more involvement by the community in some of these aspects of care that we're talking about.
And we're seeing a lot more interest with Gen Y in actually being engaged, because I mean, at the risk of stereotyping various generations, they do want to make a difference, and they can see that they can make a difference.
They
and
do.
if you train people well, then they get a lot more out of their job.
And supervise them and give them some mentorship.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not a factory just warehousing people, but it's actually a personal relationship. And, you know, the woman I saw today, she's been in this home now for, I don't know, 15 years, and the staff love her. She's 92, she's got terminal cancer and dementia, and they do everything for her. And the family can't talk highly enough about the love that she gets from the staff.
Part of the family,
exactly.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
What about for the families? And Ida, you've spoken about this fairly strongly tonight, the impact this does have on families. What more can we do as a society, from a government perspective as well, to look after those who are caring?
Well, more respite care, you know, and give them a break every now and again, because I see them, they're doing it 24/7, and you can see they're almost at breaking point because they're caring for somebody that they love 24/7, and it's a really hard call.
And that should be emergency respite, not just booked respite as well. It's the emergencies that are going to tip the balance when the wheels run, you know, sort of fall off, or inappropriate drugs have been put together into some sort of cocktail or whatever.
And I think
The
friends and
ace
family...
in respite is all around flexibility and choice, that people are not told what they need, that they actually have some power to make the decisions for themselves. This is what I need. I want it at this time, and I want it here, and that they should have that power to be able to do that.
I think the government recognises that
right.
in the package, in the aged care reform package. There certainly is a greater recognition by the government and a commitment to tackle dementia, and they certainly are backing that. Give people more choice, give the consumer a better voice in what they want.
It's called consumer-directed care.
Yeah.
It's the whole new movement now. Getting the consumer... It used to be that the provider says, this is what you need.
Right.
Now says the consumer says, here's your budget, here's the menu, choose what you need. Yeah.
But to do that, we also actually have to free up the marketplace as well. At the moment, I think it's easier to open a new airline in Australia than it is for someone to establish a new residential or community service in a different location.
Despite the demand.
Despite the demand.
Coming down the pipeline.
And that means that we've got to free up the market so that good providers of dementia care or aged care generally prosper. And, you know, the cowboys do disappear.
Is there money in it or not?
Is there money in it? At the moment, it's a very marginal business because it's tightly controlled. I mean, it's one of the few industries or sectors that I know where your income is capped but your expenditure's not. And so we've got to actually generate that sort of freer market. I mean, the Productivity Commission proposed that there be an entitlement system rather than a rationing system. And the government sort of said, no, we're not going there just yet. But that's the way forward. Whilst ever you've got occupancy rates in residential aged care of 95%, that's effectively not choice at all. You've got to actually have occupancy rates down in the low 80s. So people can say, well, I'm not going to go over to those cowboys or those dodgy brothers. I'm actually going to go to that provider because they're delivering good services.
But within that framework of the aged care facilities that people go to, the dementia care wings need to be specifically for dementia patients. That's not the case. They're just in with everybody. And that doesn't work
More
either.
specialised care.
Yeah.
I'm a great believer in actually making sure that you have a focus. So many, I mean, in every other sort of endeavour, we say the key to quality is focus. Why isn't that true in dementia care?
Well, we're right out of time, unfortunately, but hopefully this conversation has helped some people out there dealing with this personally. Ida, just quickly, what's the number for Alzheimer's?
1-800-100-500.
Jot that down, give it a call. Thank you all for your contributions tonight, the very different perspectives you've brought to this challenging issue. Thanks for your company as well. We'll be back same time next week.